Hello, it's Keith here. We're going to be beta testing again today. Now hopefully today will be the last of the beta testing videos because we're going to be viewing the last of the MSXs, the Turbo R with the V9990. Now a Turbo R on its own, while it's a faster machine, it's heavily limited by the video cards. There isn't really any difference between the Turbo R version and the regular MSX2 version. However, when you add the V9K to it, you end up with a really powerful machine. That's what we're going to be looking at today, and that's why this video is actually going to be in 60 frames a second, because honestly the 30 frames a second I've been recording the other ones in wouldn't do it justice. So let's have a look. Okay, so here's the MSX we're going to be using today. So this is the A1ST, which is one of the Turbo R series. This is not the top end model, but it makes absolutely no difference. The higher end model had more memory, I believe, but this is just fine for what we're going to do today. This cost me about $500. I bought it fairly recently. The floppy drive, the internal floppy drive doesn't work, and to be honest, I'm too scared to open it at that price. That's kind of the limit of what I'm willing to comfortably pay for second-hand hardware. So as I say, the floppy drive doesn't work, but that doesn't matter because we can use the Mega Flash ROM again. Now of course we're going to be using the V9K because, as I say, you do need the V9K to really get any benefit from the Turbo R, because the internal graphics card is not fast enough for my game to run any faster. So the machine itself was sold as a word processor, quite strangely, but we don't care about that. The important thing to know about it, there's some information online which is incorrect, but the Turbo R has a Z80 compatible called the R800. It's a 7 MHz processor. It's sometimes incorrectly said to be a 40 MHz processor, but that isn't true. What it is it's a 7 MHz processor, but it is able to read the memory 4 times as fast in some cases, so it will act as if it's 8 times faster, and that's where people invent this 40 megahertz kind of figure from, but that isn't the case. But from our point of view, it gives us a huge boost in speed, and what Chibi Akumas uses this for is the game engine will reconfigure itself, and it will allow the game to run at a more smooth speed. The game still does run faster because, unfortunately, Chibi Akumas was always designed to run as fast as it possibly could. It was never designed with a machine this fast in mind. It was only originally a CPC game, so it was never designed to be able to manipulate the speed of the objects depending on how fast the processor was actually running. But I have managed to make it run in a way that makes the game run much more smoothly, although it doesn't run quite the same on this faster machine, but I think it's something really impressive to see, so we'll be having a look at it today. The video we'll be looking at on my main camera is going to be 60 frames a second, because I don't think that the 30 frames a second video does the speed justice. But anyway, from the hardware point of view, from what you're seeing today, it's really just another MSX. We're going to be using the secure digital card for floppy disk emulation again. We're going to be using the V9K externally again. I'm going to be using my mini TV just to start things up, which is plugged in by this cable here. I'm going to be using my RGB converter again, my arcade RGB converter, to convert the signal to work properly with my TV's VGA input. And then we're just going to be using a joypad again. I mean, just to reiterate, I don't know if you saw, but the machine does have a PCM function, but the game doesn't use that. It only uses the standard AY sound chip. But anyway, let's start the game up on the hardware and we'll see what we see. Okay, so here we go. So the machine is set up and ready to go. I've got my little screen showing the normal screen. So we're just going to type run v9990.bas. And now the game's starting. Now the game automatically detects the Turbo R here. It will also detect the WSX, which does have a slightly faster processor, but it won't be able to run in this special mode. You'll just get a very slight speed boost on the WSX. You do need the Turbo R to get the more advanced speed mode. So let's have a look at it. So you'll notice no difference at all here so far, but you'll pretty quickly see the difference in the gameplay. So the game's loading now. And here's the game. And you should immediately see that the speed is absolutely huge now. The player movement has halved in its granularity, so to speak. So the player's moving more smoothly, but because the processor is more than twice as fast, it still looks faster. This was basically as much as I could slow down the 8-bit game. But it is, I mean, honestly, it is a bit more difficult just because of the sheer speed it runs at. But the smoothness is really, really nice. It does get a bit less smooth on the later levels because the background's so simple on this level. there's very little processor delays. There's very little graphical delays. It's all sort of running as fast as it can. But on the later level, when the background graphics get more detailed, it does become a little bit more slow. But it's still far smoother than the regular MSX2 version. Good God. Yeah, it's quite challenging to dodge the bullets. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether people will prefer the Turbo R version than the regular MSX version. As I've said before, really, this is kind of the added this is an added bonus. When I heard about the sort of speed of the Turbo R, I wanted to try and use it, but for general playing, for people looking to sort of play this game at home, I really still recommend the MSX2 with the V9K as the system to aim for. This is just an added bonus for those with the more expensive Turbo R. As I said before, the R800, which is the central processing unit inside the Turbo R, is actually not a Z80 officially speaking. It has some extra commands, although this game does not use them. But the level of compatibility is very high with the regular Z80. There was no debugging I had to do. There was no commands that didn't work correctly as far as Chibi Akumas was concerned. So it was really the only challenge with regards to programming this hardware. As I say, you can see the game's a little slower now because the background is now limiting the speed of the machine. But there was no debugging that was needed from the point of view of actually incompatibilities with the processor. It was simply recoding the game to actually try and take advantage of the extra speed. The original version ran like 6 times faster than it should or something, and it was completely unplayable. So I had to sort of recode the bullet code and recode the enemy movement and to try and slow everything down as much as I possibly could to make the game playable on this version. However, there was limits to what I could do and make the game without completely rewriting the game engine and the levels, because, as I say, there were major limits in place when I designed the game engine because of having to work on a 4 MHz system and having limited memory. So it was quite a challenge making the game take advantage of this powerful system, but retaining 99.99% of the code with the original version and making everything work. And this is basically as well as I could do. Now, I'm not sure going forwards when I write my next game whether I will write it from the ground up to take advantage of a faster processor like this, or whether again it's going to be a niche thing that I will just try and add a few tweaks for. I really haven't decided. It's all going to sort of come down to how popular the games I'm releasing now are. When I can sort of look back at them and see how popular they were, how well they were received on each system, I will then judge my priorities for future projects based on that. You know, if the MSX version gets far more publicity than the Spectrum version and everyone's shouting about how great the Turbo R version was, well, more priority will be put into the Turbo R. But if actually the Spectrum version is vastly more popular than the MSX version, then it would make more sense to prioritize doing better graphics on the Spectrum version. It's because I'm writing these games in my spare time, and my spare time is really at a sort of breaking point at this stage, shall we say. I can't spend more time on the games. I can only spend that time better on the games, and everyone's opinion on what better is very subjective. The people with Amstrads want GX4000 support and 64K support. The MSX owners may want Turbo R support or cartridge support, but the Spectrum people want 48K support. Everyone wants something different, and I can't give everyone everything, not unless I go completely insane. So I just have to allocate my time based on where the community seem to be most receptive to it, shall we say, where people seem to be most excited about it and take the most pleasure in it. I'm not really imagining making any money at all out of these games. You know, I know what the market is like, and that the most popular games are still the old ones. So it's not like I'm expecting to really profit from this in any way. It does give me a great sense of pride and achievement though when I see the game, people talking about the games, when I see people mentioning them or linking them on their websites. So you know, if I see by the end of the year that people are still shouting and getting excited about the Spectrum version, but everyone's lost interest in the CPC version, I'm going to adjust my priorities accordingly. But anyway, I think you've seen the game today. Hopefully you've now seen what the Turbo R version is like. and you can maybe appreciate the benefit it does give you. But as I say, don't spend extra money on them. They're really overpriced. And if you do want to see this, of course, OpenMSX can emulate it. It can emulate the exact setup I've got here, and it does an effectively perfect job of it. So you want to see the game running at very high frame rate, just emulate it and enjoy it there. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it today. I hope you've learned what maybe you didn't even know what the Turbo R was, because I didn't. So maybe you've learned something today. And thanks for watching, and goodbye.